Very viral, the Royal Wassey Debate Championship 2014.
Yeah.
We have Universiti Teknologi. Rafiq Saladdin. And Mohammed. In opposition, we have the International Islamic represented by Ameera and
Hey,
who's running on? Syed, Saddiq. And Mubarrat. So what do I do? I call the House order on the motion that in order to achieve the feminist agenda, the House rejects cultural feminism. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, I have a growing suspicion that on both sides of the bench, they force the non-Malaysians to wear different colors rather than team colors. Hassan Mubarrat, we should follow equity violation. Before I move on to my debate, there are several things that we need to clear. Firstly, what do we mean by cultural feminism? Cultural feminism is a sect of feminism that seeks to fight for rights of women within the confines of culture, scripture, tradition, whatever writing teaches them. Those norms are patriarchal, not just in nature. Rather than using logic, reasoning, or humanitarian values, everything is extremely harmful. Second of all, we should fight for women's rights, not because another culture says so, or another tradition says so, but because they are human. Let's see what this debate is about. Firstly, this debate is not about the ability of women to stay home. We believe feminism has already fought for that. Second of all, this is about within the context where patriarchy is the most dominant thought today, and even in the most liberal societies, we have people fighting for the idea that women should stay home, or should be subject to norms of society, and women should not go and actively outright claim what man has already had. Look at that. The context of this debate should actually be on how cultural feminism and its effects within liberal societies affect the whole global sphere in general, and how it harms the feminist agenda throughout the whole world. That is how that debate should actually go. Two things to talk about. First, we talk about how cultural feminism harms the crusade for equality, and second, we're going to talk about how cultural feminism also harms feminism in general. Before I move on to the two arguments, yes, Mubarrat.
how many people did they push for the rights of women in Saudi Arabia?
The advanced way we can actually change the culture and economy in the future. We can also do that with others next step. But the idea that you should Saudi Arabia and lessons and they should exist as a whole, that's even more harmful in the long run, because you have to say that they should not exist. Within the cultural feminism sphere, at least you can push that they have provided society as beings, but not according to scripture in general. Let's talk about the first level of this thing, how cultural feminism harms the crusade for women equality. Firstly, we have to understand how the patriarchal system works. It exists in a system where women's rights has a ceiling. We think that is harmful. Because for women to actually function in society, they have a role to actually work within it. Just like how in certain societies, women have a role to stay home in general. But in the context where everyone, including women, enforces patriarchal norms, harms other subsets of feminism that fights for equal rights. That means if I am liberal, I will get vilified in general because of the clearance of Saudi Arabia that Mubarrat does so much. Second of all, in terms of cultural feminism, that it has an uneven advantage to defeat liberal feminism. Why so? It's because they use culture and other divine authority to back their ideas. Two examples here. Firstly, like within the Muslim tradition, within Islam itself, women cannot become imams because it's what the scripture says. But just because somebody might attack me after this, I'll also use an example of Christianity. Like, for example, how Catholicism, women can only be nuns in the countries. So hence the person leading the prayer means that the person leading the congregation of everyone in this world should always be man himself. And it can never ever be perfect. And I think my mother has taught me it's the right spiritual way, and she's a good mother in a sense. Everybody's big. But here's the other one, is that it fractures the feminist movement in general. Now, in order for a movement to actually work, you need a unified movement to make an impact. So firstly, is that cultural feminism don't fight for formal equality in general. And second of all, social movement can only sustain itself if they stay together as one unit. And whatever cultural feminism does, it contracts or creates structures within it on three different levels. Why so? Because firstly, within cultural feminism, women are much more predisposed to fight for patriarchal ideas because they're educated for that ever since they were kindergarten, or even Mara, like exactly the words. Second of all, those who want to fight for equality already has the apprehension and social backlash within communities. Even in the most liberal communities, you see families being attacked by the Republican guys saying that somehow rape and they can be somehow victim, somehow justified rape. Thirdly, those who don't want to access the rights that liberal feminism one that should fight for, it already live comfortably within the own paradigms. If they want to be willing to say no, they can already do so without affecting the liberal feminism. This is the second part, the conclusion to that. Firstly, that cultural feminism hinders those who want to access their rights. Without cultural feminism, cultural feminists still can stay at home if they want to, but if they change their mind, the door is open for that, literally and figuratively. Second of all, cultural feminism dilutes the protections or whatever has been lobbied or fought for by the liberals. For example, if you want to lobby for maternity leave, cultural feminists fight the idea that more women should stay home, but you shouldn't deserve the effects of you working outside the house. So what happens to your child is your fault at the end of the day. And the child is not only us, but the children in that sit down and think one already. Second of all, how it harms the movement in general, three different levels of policy. Is that firstly, you have a big one against each other, not like female category of MIDP. But let's see, when movement become enemies of each other, they wouldn't share any common values to push their ideas. So it's very easy for us to actively spread each other. But here's the second level. Now, why should the bigots in society would come and assist people on the ground when they see that you are not organized? So it's hard to get any form of empathy when all of us fight each other. A great example how in the past was so hard to fight for black rights because nothing acts and nothing immediately keep control tracks and dance against each other. That's why it's so hard to fight for racial equality in the United States and past because there is no one to fight body in general. We regret it because first we have to understand when liberal feminism fights for formal equality, only a small number of countries are able to actually gain these rights in general. The problem is that the small different countries, especially liberal democracies, are the ones who are controlling the narrative of how feminism works in the global sphere. So what happens here is that when you use cultural feminism within the liberal sphere and say that women should actually stay more actively said, is that the rest of the world, India, Pakistan, etc., would use that narrative as a core part of their education system to subject them, and someone say that and more rather than work with the rest of the world itself. Now, here's the conclusion of something, is that in order to fight for feminism and push for women's rights in general, we should not just judge them just because scripture says them or culture says them. We should see them as another part of the human race. That's what we are fighting for, both sides of government.
Let's keep it to a minimum in terms of discussions during the debate. I think long because there's a lot of discussion going on. So if you guys do that, that'd be great. Right, I think the Prime Minister and I invite lead of the opposition to begin
to be talking about was redraft places such as Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries. Yet the rights that they wanted to stop fighting for were rights such as wearing hijab, staying at home, and believing in the Quran. These rights are already given to women in Saudi Arabia. That can't possibly be what the debate is about. When you talk about cultural feminism, there is a need to understand what exactly is cultural feminism, right? Before I go into that, I will first rebut the substandard of the nonsense. First off, we told us that the problem with cultural feminism is that it harms subsets of feminist movements. They are seen as villains and they have not had as the use of holding structure. Tell me, how is it that you are going to appeal to the conservatives and change the entire field by requiring those fucking girls as if their culture does not exist? If anything, you can find that more because the police will just see them as the ignorant imbeciles that they don't think they are, right? But second, they told us that these individuals fraction. We'll tell you how we better unite them and we want them to unite. But the question then becomes how? The answer to that question is with conservative women, with equal footing liberal women, but understanding the basic cultural that cultural feminist movements are fighting for, such as education, jobs, and the fight against marital rape. Then, when you get collaboration amongst conservatives and liberals, that's when you get to push for other things. But for now, we think it's about time we prioritize cultural feminism above other else, because this is stepping soon towards achieving a more unified law of rights to energy in future. No, right? Let's firstly understand what is cultural feminism. The late announcement people said this, and we say the way which I completely agree. Fighting for the rights of women, when you're talking about cultural feminism, is about talking about fighting for the rights that is closer to home. It's such as education, fight against marital rape, and job opportunities, right? Because these are the rights that they want to fight for. But what differentiates cultural feminism than other feminist movements that we will talk about? Cultural feminism chooses to exclude other things such as extreme liberal principles, like sexual liberation, and the right to walk around wearing anything they want and be proud of the word being called slut. These are the things that we don't think cultural feminism should include. That's why we think that for a better achievement in improving the situation of women in patriarchal societies, we should only prioritize cultural feminism, right? No. First off, why basic rights can't be achieved in all, if you want to fight for an all-inclusive form of feminism? When you push for everything to be adequate, you get nothing. Because cultural feminism only talks about acceptable methods or acceptable objectives that are closer to home, right? Because what happens now in their scenario? When you saw feminism that they want to impose in a patriarchal society that Prime Minister himself agreed on, with things to fighting for sexual liberation, the rights of women to marry other women, the rights of women to fight for all these extreme things that even their God themselves don't take. The liberal values we then talk about are things they can no longer connect with. They divorce themselves from any ideas of feminism. They immediately assume that the moment you're a feminist, you're an individual who's part of a Western ideology, right? Trust me, they need more than just simple, feminism. It's probably the idea of liberalization, right? Because they feel that this is antithetical towards their village order. Having women speak against feminism in itself, conservative women on the ground speaking against feminism, preaching to other conservative women, speaking to other feminists, only affirms the idea that feminism is a evil idea that is only complicated. But the rest, even if they are progressive women who join the idea, the fact of the matter is they can't complicated because they've been pressured by other female friends, other men who believe that feminism is an evil idea. No, the idea of the sort of feminism that they want to talk about that is all inclusive only makes men and patriarchy more defensive. I get it. It's hurtful when we think that our rights are only achieved at the discretion of men in Saudi Arabia. But I think that's ugly too. I'm sorry that's the situation. The fact of the matter is that men are the ones who hold a more powerful position. Men are the ones who create the laws. Men are the ones who make the opportunities for these women. So long as you choose to continuously antagonize these men in the most extreme aspect, you will never get any form of progress whatsoever. You get less opportunities, right? But when you're talking about even people who, for example, progressive politicians, thank God, maybe there are some men out there who are progressive and not willing to listen to feminists, right? But they can't change policies because they are outnumbered. They are basically changing the policies because they will be outvoted. And people on the society on the ground just see them as personal puppets. These are the sort of mentality that you create that just dilutes the sort of idea of any forms of change whatsoever. Before that happens.
How will liberal feminists not be vilified, silenced, as well shut up if even in the most liberal state, the entire population of the Republican base are swayed by religious sentiments as well as cultural normative sentiments as well.
Look, the thing is, this falls perfectly within my sense of society. How later on we do push for moderate society and push for progression to something you want to teach, right? But before that, how do we reconcile this idea of like feminism being such a Western idea? We reconcile it by allowing people to relate to that cause. We have more people back in there and not wanting to divorce themselves of being the idea of feminism something that's so big. That's when you get more support. More support means that you also get more people, families, more donations, that can actually lobby people and a voice out to block the idea of changing and creating discussion, right? You sway the politicians with the lobby groups and the campaigns that you are able to create. It's not just that, but it's also the idea of having more numbers of people being able to get more votes, more participation. The only way you're going to be able to make women progress is to make women participate. You can't make women participate if you tell them everything that we're fighting for is something that's highlighted in the Quran is being sanctioned to hell immediately. So it's so difficult to fight for that. Secondly, how do moderate society take progression? Because when women now understand that education is something that I can accept, it's not necessarily a Western ideology, right? Because now the person who's propagating education is not the same person who's propagating sexual liberation. That makes the idea of education not propagating sex and holding powerful positions as leaders something that is more inclusive, more acceptable. When you have women in powerful positions because of the education that they get, you're the ones who will not be the speaker of discussion, right? They get to change some of this stuff that exists in parliament actually for girls that are in favor of women. The exposure that they get when work, right? You start seeing men who get different and better treatment, yet they're on the same equal level as you. That's when you start seeing things that are more inclusive and you're more able to fight. When you have women who are out there in these positions, you don't like necessarily vilify the idea. In comparison to their cost. Men are always going to be organized. Men are always going to be at the top. Any words linked to feminists or any words related in progression of women will be highly linked to the idea of Western puppeteers, right? That's not the way you're going to forward women. The only way we can do this is if we try to fight for something first, when everything is achieved, then we maybe fight for something that is more extreme later on. For all these reasons, I'm proud of this.
I think the leader of competition and not by the MC, right?
Rafiq.
Yes. The feminist Mary Wollstonecraft once said, if women have to do twice what men do in order to gain half as much respect, but luckily that is hard to do. Now it's also not hard to see who's actually winning this debate, ladies and gentlemen. Because fundamentally in Mary's speech, she clearly shows why liberal feminism A cannot achieve the very same goals and ambitions that cultural feminists want. But secondly, that the existence of liberal feminism, that the existence of cultural feminism and liberal feminism together doesn't somehow make things any better. So under our side, we prove that the rights that cultural feminists want are also for violent feminists, and we can prove that the feminist movement and women in and of themselves progress better under our model, the we will win this debate. Before that, two rebuttals, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, Mary said that in societies like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, it's more important for women to fight for basic or fundamental rights rather than fighting for the right to run down the street naked. First response, that is argument against that feminist movement strategy rather than the liberal movement in itself. So obviously, if the liberal feminist movement in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan will be fighting for like the rights of gay marriage or the right for women to wear everyone, they probably start something like having the right to vote, or having the right to try, or having the right to leave their home without paying economy. This is not about the objectives of feminism. This is about how we push for and the manner in which we push for feminism. Do we use the strength of culture and religion as the way we push forward, or do we use like rationalism, humanitarianism, and any other liberal thought in doing so.
Sure, yeah.
Even if you want to fight for the right to wear burqa, we think that you can still vote for a policy that allows you to wear anything. It's not mutually exclusive. Secondly, to told you that now, under all stay-at-home of more cultural-centric women are going to be discriminated under our law. Firstly, that's just generally like different from opinion. Because even in Western world democracies, women who choose to go to work and like pursue their careers are also limited by monarchy to like start a family or stay at home for their children. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why a lot of like these societies are so weird is because they have conceded to that on the ground of their religion and on the ground of their culture. In Western democracies, stay-at-home moms don't think as much as religion because they choose to stay home not because their religion or their culture say they should, but because they are women and they are legitimate in making those choices. Second, she told you now in these societies, women and cultural families won't want to come out and vote for certain policies because they feel that those policies are antithetical to their cultures and the religion. Firstly, we say that that's not necessarily true because we think that women are smart and educated enough to understand that when you say something or when you want to vote for a policy that says that you have a right to wear anything, that doesn't mean that you have a right to wear short skirts or whatever you want, but it also means that you have the right to wear a burqa or dress religiously or whatever you want. We don't think women are dumb enough to think that, oh, just because this sounds liberal, that means that it's against my objective and my culture. Now, moving on, I understand it, but before that, yes, Ameera.
Sir, why are you talking about that fight for education when they are also the ones fighting for sexual liberation?
Because that means that when you vote for the policies, they don't have to vote for all those other ones, they can just vote for the right to education. Are similar. Cultural feminism and the objective of cultural feminism is a subset within liberal and radical feminism. So all the rights that can still be achieved because the difference is that now we're giving those rights not because that the Quran or the Bible says that you can, but because these people are human beings and that they deserve that right on that very basis. The first question we have to ask is does cultural feminism reinforce or fight against patriarchy? We say, ladies and gentlemen, that when groups like Sisters of Islam, for example, push forward policies within the constraints of Islam that allows other groups to enforce those very same constraints. That is when Sisters of Islam or the feminist Pakistani judge Mohammed says that, for example, that Islam doesn't actually say that women are equal to men. That allows other groups, other radical groups, to challenge them on the very basis of Islam, for example, in gender. So now the discourse is broken down to like trying to reason through like archaic interpretations of archaic scriptures or intuitive messages. People start studying, oh, what did God really mean when He wrote the Bible, ladies and gentlemen? Instead of necessarily saying that women deserve things like the basis, they are human beings and they deserve it for that. So under their model, all that discourse is left. You're taking a gamble on that discourse because you have to see who interprets it in what way, in which interpretation is better. Do you think it's better when you simply say that a human being doesn't deserve those rights? Dig back to it. Secondly, does it expand or limit the rights of that women fight for? You think that as much as the Quran and the Bible doesn't explicitly say that women are bad and don't deserve equal rights, there are certain ceilings for women within these constraints. Such as, for example, like Terence said, you can't be the head of certain religious congregation, or you can't, for example, have the same amount of property as men, for example. The example we have here is that when Martin Luther King graduated from law school, he was the son of a Baptist priest, and he started off his movement by trying to say that Jesus and God loves blacks just as much as whites. It didn't gain as much traction because a lot of other white people say, no, that's not true. But the civil rights movement gained a lot more traction when Martin Luther King said that blacks are human beings, and just because white people, we deserve the very same rights too. It's a lot easier for people to acquiesce to those kinds of discourse because it's more humanitarian, it's more logical and rational in nature, ladies and gentlemen. Thirdly, we say fragmentalized or unified feminist movement. The first thing we say is that numerically disempowered people. So the same thing you said, how certain women don't want to go out and vote for certain policies because they are like principally opposed to like liberal radical feminists. This harms those very same policies in the first place. But secondly, it gives the state plausible deniability to not give women rights or not give liberal radical feminists rights because they can simply say, oh, hang on a minute, there are a lot more cultural feminists in our country, so why should we bother? So there's no incentive to support things like the slut law because there are more women who are against it. Fourthly, we say it harms the democratic process because when cultural feminists invariably push for religious constraints. That means that it vilifies other women who do not subscribe to the same cultural or religious. That means that this was harm, because before we come to the negotiating table and have that discussion, before that we judge each other based on what cultures or religions you are from. That harms the unity of that movement. Because women like to judge each other. There is no unifying factor of gender anymore, because that unifying factor is contingent on what cultures and religions you subscribe before the fact that you are a woman and a human being. Ladies and gentlemen, everything that they wanted can be fought for here as well. The only difference is that we choose to tell people to judge women on the basis that they are human beings, not on the basis that religious scriptures say so. For our women, for our mothers, and our daughters, go with Syed government.
Deputy Prime Minister, the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, continue
Yes.
Constitution of Saddiq.
Madam Chair, you can't expect a moderate conservative Muslim in Afghanistan to allow women to achieve and obtain education if education means that the women would have the choice to not wear hijab, which is directly related to the religion. If that woman is allowed to walk down the street naked on that basis. Unfortunately, this debate is context sensitive, and we do agree that this project of feminism is indeed exclusive, that we will need to pick and select what values we fight for. However, that selection, ladies and gentlemen, will at least materialize with active change, in contrast to pushing for all versions of feminism, which will radically have changes which we can make, albeit pretty slow. My argumentation will be twofold. Number one, our young policy will homogenize Western feminism with cultural feminism, while it will destroy all the changes which we want to bring. And secondly, the airtime problem which will come into the picture, where even liberals which want to fight for will not get airtime in the countries which we're looking at, therefore the change to one will not materialize. So first, why is selection much better than the all-inclusive feminist framework? They themselves consider that these countries generally are anti-Western for two reasons. Number one, maybe because they were victims of oppression perpetrated by the West, like in Iraq, ladies and gentlemen, the war which happened in 2001. So that means it's a physical scar which they automatically attribute to any Western ideals, even if this is a feminist ideal. But second, at the same time, it's really hard for this moderate conservative Muslim to automatically buy a radical interpretation of feminism, because it's simply too far and too distant from the person, in contrast to pushing for a more philosophical, which is the right to education, the right to wear hijab, and at least being able to go to work, going to work, albeit getting less pay, but is being accepted in the job market, even if you are not to wear hijab, because there's something closer to the person. So we can at least achieve these rights first, in contrast to you pushing the radical interpretation, which will sacrifice the preliminary stage of getting that right. Sit down. What is the conclusion to this argument? An all-inclusive framework means that there's a homogenization effect which will come to the scripture. That means that the radical interpretation of feminism, and to me and you, it might not be radical. Like, come on women walking down the street naked might not be that radical, or maybe not wearing hijab might not be radical. But to those individuals, my daughter not wearing hijab, or seeing another person not wearing hijab is indeed something it's radical. That means it compromises any fight which you want to make previously set down. Secondly, they say, but guys, this is bad because women are fighting for patriarchal ideals. I want to be apologetic here. I'm sorry that the Middle East is unfortunately patriarchal in nature. But that means we need to strategize well. As Rafiq indeed considered himself that maybe breaking up the streets. We are strategizing. Since these individuals are largely patriarchal and operate based on that patriarchy, we think the better way to do it is to gain that numbers game, to ensure that you persuade that person through the usage of cultural sensitive arguments, Mr. Speaker, in contrast to you merely saying that I am a woman, therefore this is my body, I have my right. Unfortunately, to those individuals, they can't connect with the argument. You need to use religious scriptures, reinterpreting it, and arguing through the scriptures in just the same way for Mehdi Hassan was able to persuade half a billion Muslims across the world that the usage of the religious scriptures has largely been exploited by those mullahs, ladies and gentlemen. We think that's what you do. You change it not by sending Hillary Clinton to sell the message to women. You use the women in the hijab, ladies and gentlemen, as benefit to sell the idea of feminism because that's more palatable. I think that's my sit down. But then they say, Rafiq came and told us, but guys, like politicians who do that support because individuals are rational. They will vote based on different policies, whether it's conservative or liberal, they can still select it, right? So, unfortunately, sit down, your branch of feminism is a group. Even if I have 10 policies which I would like to push as a feminist bloc, if 9 of them or 5 of them, ladies and gentlemen, are seen to be antithetical to my religion, that means I will not support that policy, that group, that NGO, or that political party. Because even if 5 of them are good, but that means I'm pushing for another 5 which is antithetical to religion. And since we're talking about religion, Islam, Christianity, one big sin will bring you to hell, ladies and gentlemen. So even if the antithetical policy is only a subset, a small part of it, it becomes a huge part for Muslim ladies and gentlemen, and the policy will make it worse. Sit down. But then he asserted that it will entrench division because now women will be seen to be disorganized. Wait a minute. You are the one who want to fight for an all-inclusive framework, the radical version of feminism, the moderate version of feminism, every single version of feminism. And necessarily means there are more broken versions or more fractured versions of feminism. We think, and we will agree, I'm sorry again, that we will need to select. That means when we push for one primary block, which is cultural feminist block, that means we have more people to unite under that block. Yes, we will use the liberals, but fortunately or unfortunately, the liberals are in the minority in the country. Most of them are conservative or conservative moderate. If we are at least able to swing the conservative moderate over, then the conservative moderate will donate for us, will fight us, will vote for us, and will vote for that politician in contrast to voting against it. Yes, my boyfriend. So, don't you think it's harmful for women everywhere when cultural feminists individually insist that the laws that they want to vote for must correspond to the religion or that culture? It's a beautiful argument, which now moves to my point. How then do we argue for the usage of scriptures? I already told you that progressive people like Mehdi Hassan, ladies and gentlemen, and the Imam of the Al-Aqsa Mosque who would you to reinterpret this in a good way. But you said it through something which can connect with members on the ground. But secondly, you change it when there's more female power brokers in that society. Even if that lady gets less paid, will be forced to wear the job, but at least she gets to the job and can climb up the ladder. The example in Qatar is at the Kuwait, where there's a minister called Sharifah Husni Al-Akal, who came up because she was able to penetrate the structure, even if it is patriarchal, but at least she's given the opportunity, in contrast to no opportunity at all, because it is antithetical to my belief. Now, when you really want to argue, ladies and gentlemen, it is true that Martin Luther King might want to fight for this. But as I mentioned before, the homogenization effect is unbelievably bad. Because this is not right, which can easily affiliate ourselves to. Walking down the street, you, ladies and gentlemen, or you allowing my daughter not to wear hijab is something which is so entrenched against me. The point is that group alone, even if it's one minority group in the country exists, that means all feminist bloc will be homogenized to have the same value. It will be very easy for large people when you have one group preaches radicalism, which affect other groups which are more moderate, when they push for more moderate interpretation of religion. In order for you to persuade religious people, unfortunately, you need to use culturally sensitive arguments, not arguments to them. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not be one of the two women in this debate. And being in a lesbian relationship, I particularly understand the radical feminist movement. And I can tell you for one, ladies and gentlemen, that this under the government is not the radical feminist movement. We think that there needs to be clear clarification in terms of what are the objectives and what is the formulation of the liberal feminist movement in contrast to the cultural feminist movement. Ladies and gentlemen, this objective, the concern that came from side opposition was concerning means, not ends, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. That means the liberal feminist movement can fight for basic humanitarian rights such as the right to suffrage, voting, the right to access education, or the right to commerce and to work, ladies and gentlemen. But decided they never want to that with the pre-existing cultural feminist movement that exists today, ladies and gentlemen, that women who fight actively against women who want to go to work, women that say that voting is against your religion, ladies and gentlemen, or the patriarchal structure that says that no, you can't be an imam, you cannot be a khalifa, you can't lead your country because by virtue of you being a woman and because you getting a period needs your ability and because the religion says so. Most of the cultural feminist movement hinges upon that today, ladies and gentlemen, and we think that those are fundamental differences that you need to engage with. Firstly, it's differentiating the liberal and the cultural feminist movement. First and foremost, we think that it needs to be differentiated. In liberal context, we don't need to defend fighting for pussy riots in Afghanistan. Yeah. Why so? Because liberal feminism can fight for the same objectives with different means in different countries. That's why in France, the conception of liberal feminism is banning the burqa. But in Russia, with the conception of liberal feminism, may be the pussy riots, ladies and gentlemen. And across many different countries, we fight for liberal feminism in many different ways. We don't see why in that particular context, we can maybe shy away from certain more sensitive issues, but fight for more fundamental things like the right to vote, ladies and gentlemen. And we think that that may be a prioritization that they want to engage with under that side of the house. But secondly, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have to acknowledge the context of which debate is set. We're talking about a context in which society, even the most liberal of states, like the United States of America, already deep-seated in religious as well as cultural, traditional, patriarchal sentiments, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So are the women. But when the same women that fight for these feminist rights also say things like not getting an education, like Ameera's POI, or you're not able to vote, or you can't vote, can you tell us how will that organic change that they fight for suddenly, magically happen when the very same women that want the rights empower the already pre-existing patriarchal structure? We think it never do this, how there was suddenly a shift in mentality in regard to a very patriarchal structure under that side of the house. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, is in regards to objectives. What do we tell you in differentiation? We told you that your right to stay home, your right to go to work, your right to not go to work, your right to get maternity leave or support when you stay at home, can still be achieved under this side of the house. The same way, the liberal feminist movement in America, ladies and gentlemen, has reconciled their objectives with the cultural feminist movement in terms of getting support as well as welfare support to stay-at-home mothers, stay-at-home mothers that don't work, but at the same time maintaining the option for an individual to go to work. But under that side of the house, when individuals already deep-seated a patriarchal structure, if you're cultural feminist and you suddenly change your mind, are you able to access the workplace? Are you able to access your right to vote? Under the other side, these individuals are not able to do this. But lastly, under this issue, we think that we need to examine how cultural feminists exist as they do today, ladies and gentlemen. Because in that instance, this side of the house largely not the last perspective that Terence brought you in extension. What did he tell you? He told you that the narrative of feminism is now dictated by Western liberal states. Why is that important? Especially when it comes to cultural feminist movements. When you say that you have the right to stay home, you have the right to not work, that exists in the framework of Western liberal democracy, where you already have the access to vote, where you already have the access to work. But how does that affect countries that don't have formal equality yet and dominates the narrative for the great majority of patriarchal states? That's why states like Pakistan use the rhetoric of cultural feminists in America and say that, hey, they're doing it too, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why you can't have the right to vote. But in those countries, ladies and gentlemen, the right to vote and the right to access to work don't even exist as of yet. That means moderate feminist individuals, that means the individuals that can reconcile cultural and feminist, cultural and liberal feminist movement that Saddiq was talking about can only exist within the framework where women can get access to education, women are politically aware enough to reconcile those differences. But if it's a deep-seated patriarchal society, that means Saddiq's women don't exist in those contexts. I know it's oxymoron to say Saddiq's women. So let's talk about this in this instance. Because by far, the largest chunk of Rafiq's speech, which will never engage with Saddiq's speech. Firstly, what did he tell you? He told you that religious individuals in society are able to hijack the interpretation of those scriptures and how you want to reconcile those differences with liberal feminist movements. That means they want to reconcile your religion and say that you can go to work. It is more often than not your mullahs as well as the patriarchal structure empowers men to reinterpret that into something worse off than where you are right now. Because you're already starting from a point where women can't reinterpret the religion because they are not religious leaders. They can't have any say in how religion is. How are they supposed to fight against the radicalized men that we think they never responded to? But second, do you really expect defend feminism, which disallow the right to vote and disallow the right to education? Being fair, ladies and gentlemen, this debate is about the conception of cultural feminism as it exists today and whether obviously there is a great spectrum of which it exists today, and in liberal context, they even defend in liberal context in America, they defend of a woman's right to stay at home and not work at all. That same principle applies and affects patriarchal societies as well. You need to defend that. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, we think that often countries that not just balance, that if a woman fights for a person's right to access to work, that does not take away from your right to stay at home. But if you fight for your right to stay at home in a patriarchal context, that directly takes away from your ability to access work or vote and things like that. So that's why the dichotomy of discourse is unbalanced in these patriarchal societies. Not only that, most of these cultural feminist movements can use the rhetoric of religion as well as adversarial sentiments to defeat liberal feminists and silence their religion. That was a portion that was never negated under that house. So how are liberal feminists even supposed to have say in this particular context when all you have to say is God done it, and suddenly they are able to say, hey, I'm right, hey, I'm divine, I'm correct. At the end of this debate, we want to acknowledge a few things. The society is already steeped in patriarchal sentiments. It's about how we balance the scales today. Is it by siding with individuals that empower the same rhetoric, or siding with individuals that do want to bring change? We propose.
I absolutely hate when sneaky lies are told by side government-based governments to create an unfair debate in this house. First, ladies and gentlemen, Terence came up and also said cultural feminism is a movement that fights for the right to wear hijab in Saudi Arabia. That's an absolute lie. And a fair debate cannot happen if that's the categorization you're talking about, right? Second, they said, oh, no. Like, cultural feminism is one that fights against women's right to be leaders. They say, oh, women cannot do this. That's an absolute lie. If there is a movement that exists, that says women should not have rights, that's not a feminist movement to begin with. Then they said, and thirdly, right? And then we do that. Then they said, oh, we want to be inclusive. Everyone should be able to fight for their rights. And then they said, when we argue, why is it that cultural feminism, by its very nature, focuses on exclusive rights at the cost of others, which is effectively, they realize they're losing the debates. They're like, oh, no, we'll make that strategic decision as well. That means, ladies and gentlemen, you're supporting cultural feminism. Because cultural feminism means we fight for simple basic rights, as opposed to fighting for all inclusive rights. Right? We are ladies and gentlemen. Whatever definition you wanted to bring about, we wanted to debate that. Sit down. First, let's debate on their grounds, right? methods that these people must use. First, ladies and gentlemen, we told you that they said, logic will be used as opposed to religion. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, logic is not something that's mutually exclusive, right? What's the difference though? The point at which you use only logic and do not back that up, often back that up with religious scripture, etc., means it's very easy to portray you as a Western element, as a Western within these countries. Second, ladies and gentlemen, that means that the rhetoric that becomes, ladies and gentlemen, you're trying to divorce yourself from religion altogether. That means that because all the arguments that these mullahs they talked about will happen anyway. Like mullahs will give argument to people as to why you shouldn't follow the feminist movement. What's the difference here? The difference here is under their model, since you only use logic, you ask people to choose between that or their religion, which is something they consider defined, which is something they consider they can never ever leave. We give them back in, ladies and gentlemen. Both of those aspects, ladies and gentlemen, they have religious reasons why they can do so. They also have logical reasons why they do so. We fight on both sides in that particular methods used, ladies and gentlemen, which is why we win in this issue. Go ahead.
Now, you want to say that women who engage in the very same rhetoric as well as narrative of religion, who also face the same kind of disadvantage of men being able to control the narrative, will be able to change the narrative when that same sort of conception tells them that they don't have a say.
Okay, that was my third class. So how, ladies and gentlemen, we liberalize our sport? Because we are the only ones who create women in powerful positions. We eventually are going to create later on that. Second, let's talk about the effectiveness of these strategies, right? Because you have to be and understand the very nature of cultural feminism means that we must focus on certain rights as opposed to others. That is something they needed to engage with. They never really did, right? Why is it that we must choose, pick and choose, right? Number one, ladies and gentlemen, because the entire group of affiliation will not be happening among a vast majority of women who are also conservative within this society. Yes, they fight for some basic rights as well, which they also affiliate with. However, the point at which they also fight for things such as abortion or the things such as lesbian rights means that these women often feel that they should not donate to this group because they're fighting for something antithetical to that. They feel that they shouldn't be members of this group because they're antithetical to Islam for interest, right? So those elements mean there's a very big disincentive from women joining these groups as well. This means the radical, when other women speak up against this movement and say, this is why I don't fight this feminist movement, that means your ability to create discourse, etc., is largely diminished when women themselves speak up against those movements as a result, right? Second, men themselves feel trapped, ladies and gentlemen, when you fight for these extreme rights within this conservative societies, where they also therefore don't join. Third, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, politicians who are progressive in nature don't want to join because they fear to be cast as a Western puppet, ladies and gentlemen, and we all know politicians in Arab world lose elections if that branding ever gets banned on them. This means, ladies and gentlemen, these politicians cannot fight for those rights because the affiliation with this group automatically means, ladies and gentlemen, they will lose all their political leverage they have in the first place. That means, ladies and gentlemen, under their model, the numbers don't come in. That means we don't have enough numbers to fund donations within this group to create awareness campaigns which radically changes this. Yes. Sit down. Within these countries, right? Second, ladies and gentlemen, this means we cannot create big enough voting blocks under all models. But feminist movement, with cultural feminism is something that people connect the most with in these countries. That means under all models we have the biggest amount of numbers. That means we can create voting blocks which politicians then have an incentive to listen to because most of society supports them. Third, ladies and gentlemen, within the point at which you antagonize, ladies and gentlemen, means the kind of homogenization can happen with the extreme rhetoric of radical politicians, ladies and gentlemen. They will conflict you with all of those things. That means even if you want to push for basic rights, they'll say, this is a movement, by the way, which wants lesbianism and it's anti-Islam. Doesn't even want to discuss Islam, ladies and gentlemen. That means your ability to fight for all those fronts is taken away. Last issue. Sit down. Liberal movement. What have we done? They said, like they will be taken out, women will vilify them, etc. First, ladies and gentlemen, we said cultural feminism actually often creates doors for liberal movements eventually to come up as well. First reason is because in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, we are the ones who effectively fight those simple things such as women being able to get educated, for instance, right? This means that through in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, we create this movement as well. Second, ladies and gentlemen, we say not only do we create power brokers, that means we also create power brokers who are able to then take decisions as well. In the long run, we don't depend on men to create those policies for us. Third, ladies and gentlemen, exposure under our model happens more because more people affiliate themselves with it. More discussion happens, we see women in the workforce, etc. That means in the long run, we're able to create that discourse as well. We are therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we create all of those methods for liberal movements in the long run to be there. Under their model, let's take it up, right? Because actually what you must understand is that liberal movements, the way they said it, right, they will be shut up, will happen regardless under their models in CS code anyway. It's not like people will all of a sudden like affiliate themselves with liberal feminist movements, ladies and gentlemen, if that's the only movement, even because that's antithetical to them. The alternative is, under their model, when they don't affiliate themselves with liberal movements, they don't affiliate themselves with any feminist movement at all. Under our, ladies and gentlemen, at least there's an alternative through which they can fight for their rights as well. And I think that's the most critical difference that exists here. We think, ladies and gentlemen, that eventually what we have shown you, we're the only team that has played fair in this debate, right? We told you let's talk about all aspects. Let's talk about method. We told you that the method we use, yes, we sometimes use religious scripture as the best method to do so. We should fight for certain rights which are more palatable to be sold within these nations because that makes more sense. But also in the long run, ladies and gentlemen, we strategically push for liberal movements, something eventually even in mid-speech they're like, oh, we don't want to strategize with them. That's a concession with us, ladies and gentlemen. For all those reasons, I was taking this challenge.
Thank you. This is very good for the reply and by okay.
Yeah.
Saddiq. Right. Please, thank you.
I believe that Malala Yousafzai, in the form of another people who cry, we hear the gross misrepresentation, definition of cultural feminism in sight of the European people. Ask yourself, in every reasonable person, do you expect opposition to defend a side which does not believe in women's right to education, in women's right to vote, in the vacuum? At least we gave you fairly. We told you that, yes, women should be able to educate themselves. However, they will be included in some Quranic scriptures. They will be forced to memorize. They will be forced to wear a hijab. If women all give access to a workplace, then yes, they will be given less pay. And yes, we must use culturally sensitive arguments because the framework is inherently cultural. We gave you those things, and we want to say it to be fair. And I hope that you will make this debate fair. Let me move on to the very space of the debate's motion. We agree in exclusivity. We agree in stomping down on liberal feminism. We agree in treat and select and exclude others. However, we do recognize when we were affected, we drew your eyes and they answer. But guys, we teach religion and God will not go on this weekend. We will take and select specific rights, but not others, which inherently shows alien self-exclusion. But let's ask the first question. They said that they can fight for the right to education and the right to sexuality and the right not to wear a hijab. Then they ask, why do you need to separate them? Opposition gives you three responses. The first response which we give is that there's something. If you are a group who supports for at least one resolution which is immensely antithetical to my view, that means your group will be part with that one failure. Secondly, I also told you that even if at least 1% of the resolution is in support of your policy, but because Islam and other religions will view eternal damnation because of one gross wrong, means that individuals are much more sensitive, even if other solutions might be progressive, but the affiliation with it will be there. The third response which opposition also provided here is that let's assess how politicians react. So if there is a female politician who is to push for a female-friendly resolution, that's a good thing, and you might be fast. However, the point in which she chooses to support a bill in parliament which is so grossly anti-ethical of my culture, that person will face correct dissemination. And we think for those three reasons, we need to separate. Unfortunately, the only way was to forward the most basic improvement right can only happen when we exclude other rights. So we think that's the first step. The second thing, we agree, we need to be very apologetic here, that we will clamp down on liberal feminists. And unfortunately, liberal discourse will be clamped down. But why is it still bad for our policy? Because even if they forward liberal discourse, liberal feminists and their policy, this discourse will be clamped down anyway. The policy which we push for will not transpire anyway because of the two reasons which negative growth. The first reason is the anti-Western sentiment because of wars, the creation of victims is really high. But secondly, because of Western hatred, because these people simply justify this logic independent of the culture of their country. Therefore, even if you push for liberal discourse and fight for liberal feminists, it will not go anywhere. But why do we need to back down policy? At least, even if the women come to parliament, even if she's forced to put up with it, get nasty, must wear a job, and if she gets into a position, it influences more people, getting more media attention, crucified by the media. And if the person can push for the right vote, even if it is that, future power focus on the system, like in Qatar incident. The harm we should bring up is massive. Because even one small ultra-feminist Western bloc, which is this, that will homogenize all existing family groups in the country to share the same values as the inclusive. Scriptures can be changed, many have funded it. We also see our women pushing for reinterpretation once they at the top. It's the only way for change happening. It is slow, but at least it is concrete, objective change.
Alright, I thank the opposition reply speaker and now invite government reply speaker Rafiq.
The feminist glorious Simon once said that before the truth sets you free, it will piss you off. And that was pertinent, especially in terms of the opposition team, and especially pertinent women across the world. Now let's be very clear. The feminist movement, ladies and gentlemen, are not divided based on objectives. They are divided based on the reasoning and the argumentation that they use to forward those rights. Do you side with liberal feminism who use rationality to say that everyone's a human being and everyone deserves to be equal? Or do you fight for cultural feminism, i.e., within the constraints and restraints of your religion or your cultural traditions, ladies and gentlemen? So we are not asking them to defend, not giving women the right to vote, but we are asking them to defend. If Islam is the reason that these women are at home in the first place, is it strategically good to use Islam as a means to forward more rights, ladies and gentlemen? They accused us of girly debating, but then the definitional challenge only came up with twice ladies and gentlemen, and we have no means of responding to that. Two issues my reply speech today. Firstly, how do we fight patriarchy? Secondly, how do we keep the feminist movement unified? On to the first issue, how do we solve patriarchy? The strongest material, the absolute strongest thing that he said was, if you allow women to use cultural feminism as a means to propagate their rights, that means more women are likely to be accepted, they're likely more to get a job, they're likely to fill up parliament. Therefore, when they're in parliament, when they're in these positions, that's when their rights can change. This is a contradiction, according to Mubarrat's speech, because he said that religion is so deeply entrenched in these people, it's their base identity. So if it is, how then will all these cultural feminists in parliament in the future, when you get elected in parliament, how will they, or when will they suddenly disconnect themselves from this innate identity that they have? When will they start competing rights for other women, ladies and gentlemen? But secondly, we say that puts a veil on the problem, because it says that the problem doesn't exist. It says that patriarchy doesn't exist. And it also was preempted by my speech when I said that it gives the state plausible deniability to say that we don't need to evolve with more rights, because here there are enough female representation here in the first place. But they never engaged the argumentation that we brought up. Firstly, they told you that when you use religion or cultural tradition as a means to follow your rights, you are likely to allow that to be hijacked by extremist groups who will find other interpretations in order to counter that narrative. Now, we're not saying that that means the extremist groups win, but that means that all your rights will probably take longer to achieve, because the discourse gets bogged down to what did really God mean when we wrote this, how should we interpret the Quran, and etc. etc. It's a lot faster and a lot easier for people to give women rights when we say that it should be given rights on the basis that human beings instead of basis of that Islam says they should. Secondly, we also told you that the amount of rights that women are likely to get are severely limited under the cultural feminist law, because cultural feminism is a subset of women's rights. You are essentially saying that women in Saudi Arabia should come and vote for, let's say, equal pay laws because necessarily choose to stay at home. But they can still choose to stay at home and support all these other rights that liberal feminists have, ladies and gentlemen. Because liberal thought is all-encompassing and inclusive of all other things. Second point of issue, how do we keep the feminist movement unified? It was also funny when they told us that cultural feminists are likely to not side with liberals or engage with liberals. But at the same time, again, when they get into this position of power, that's when they're likely to acquiesce their discourse. We told you, however, that it's harder to rationalize women, because before women can come to the table and have a discussion, they judge each other and they draw a divide based on what religion you are, what race am I, what your religion says, what does my religion say, and that discourse doesn't work based on that. It also harms the numerical power of women, because women are more fractionalized and it's hard to get people on policies, even basic rights. Ladies and gentlemen, for all these reasons, it's been a fantastic tournament, and we're very, very happy to be this final and hopefully to win.